In the spring of 1898, the United States was 23 years removed from its own civil war, a prosperous but still inward-looking nation of 75 million people, content to let Europe rule the seas and empires. 90 miles off the Florida coast, however, the island of Cuba was burning. For 3 years, Cuban revolutionaries had been fighting a savage war of independence against Spain. Spanish General Valerio Weyler herded hundreds of thousands of Cuban civilians into barbed wire reconcentration camps where starvation and disease killed over 200,000. American newspapers, locked in a circulation war between Joseph Pulitzer's New York World and William Randolph Hearst's New York Journal, splashed lurid illustrations and screaming headlines across their front pages. Spanish butchers, death to the innocent, will America stand idly by? Hearst famously told illustrator Frederick Remington, "You furnish the pictures, I'll furnish the war." On the night of February 15, 1898, the U.S. battleship Maine, sent to Havana to protect American citizens, mysteriously exploded and sank, killing 266 sailors. Though modern investigations point to a coal bunker fire, America instantly blamed Spain. "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain," became the national cry. President William McKinley, who had seen the horrors of Antietam as a young soldier, tried to avoid war, but public fury and congressional pressure forced his hand. On April 25, 1898, Congress declared war on Spain, retroactive to April 21. It would last just 10 weeks, but it would change the world forever. In the Pacific, Assistant Secretary of the Navy Theodore Roosevelt had already ordered Commodore George Dewey to prepare the Asiatic Squadron in Hong Kong. The moment war was declared, Dewey steamed 600 miles to the Philippines and, at dawn on May 1st, entered Manila Bay. In 6 hours of one-sided combat, Dewey's 6 modern cruisers and gunboats destroyed the entire Spanish Pacific Fleet. 10 ships sunk or burning without losing a single American life. "You may fire when you are ready," Gridley, became an immortal line. In Cuba, 17,000 American troops, many still in wool uniforms from the Indian Wars, landed east of Santiago. Among them was Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Roosevelt, who had resigned his desk job to form the first U.S. volunteer cavalry, the Rough Riders. On July 1, in the war's decisive land battle, Roosevelt led a reckless charge up Kettle Hill beside the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the legendary Buffalo Soldiers, while U.S. artillery and Gatling guns swept San Juan Heights. 2 days later, the Spanish Caribbean Fleet tried to escape Santiago Harbor and was annihilated in 4 hours by Admiral William T. Sampson's North Atlantic Squadron. Spain had lost both its fleets and its last colonies. On August 12, an armistice was signed. The Treaty of Paris, December 10, 1898, formally ended 4 centuries of Spanish empire in the Americas. Cuba was granted independence, but under American protection, while Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines were ceded to the United States for $20 million. Overnight, the U.S. acquired an overseas empire stretching 7,000 miles from the Caribbean to Asia. The war cost only 385 American combat deaths. Far more died of yellow fever and bad canned meat, but its consequences were enormous. Theodore Roosevelt rode San Juan Hill straight to the governorship of New York, and 3 years later, to the White House. The U.S. Navy's Great White Fleet would soon circle the globe, announcing America's arrival as a world power. Yet the victory was bittersweet. In the Philippines, Filipino nationalists who had fought Spain expected independence. Instead, they got a new master. Within months, the Filipino-American War would erupt, a brutal, forgotten conflict that would cost more American lives than the war with Spain itself. The Spanish-American War was short, splendid, and victorious, but it also marked the moment the United States stepped onto the imperial stage, for better and for worse. In just 100 days, a nation that had once fought to throw off empire had become one itself. From the smoking wreck of the Maine to the surrender in Manila Bay, in just 10 weeks, the United States leapt from isolation to empire. A splendid little war had made America a global power, and the Filipino-American War was about to begin. Subscribe for the next part. The Forgotten War in the Philippines and the Birth of the American Century are coming soon.